Joe, in 1955, you come back from Shawnee to Kentucky to complete your academic degree and graduate. Did you miss playing basketball during that time when you were just in pursuit of your degree?
No, I played on independent teams and formed some AAU clubs that I played on, and I stayed in touch with basketball. I got my degree in January, which prevented me from going immediately into coaching. So I took other jobs. I was married at the time, and it was only after I'd spent some time in industry that I realized I was out of my tree, that I wasn't trained as an engineer, and to get to the top of that field, I wasn't qualified. So I went in, I took a coaching job at the first job that I could find. And I went to the placement center at the university in August to find a job. And they said, well, all the jobs have been filled. They said, but there's an opening at Shepherdsville where the coach got drafted. So I went down and interviewed, and they hired me as a basketball coach, baseball coach, and assistant football coach. Well, it turned out the football coach got drafted. And 1 week before the opening game, I became the football coach. And so I wasn't prepared to do that, but my first coaching experience in high school was actually football.
So you stayed at Shepherdsville 3 years, Joe.
2 years.
2 years, okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved on to Regis College and had a marvelous career there. Tell us a little bit about going from Shepherdsville to Regis.
Great experience. I had a player that the coach there was interested in, and he came in to recruit him, and he had an assistant's job open. And I showed interest in it, and he said, would you move to Colorado? I said, in a New York minute.
Yeah.
And so he went back to Colorado, flew me out for an interview, and we fished all night. We went fishing in Shadow Mountain Lake.
Wow.
Caught a bunch of trout, and I was hooked. And so I stayed my first year as an assistant. He left, and I became head coach. I was there 6 years, my first year as an assistant, and then 5 years as head coach.
And then from there you transitioned to Central Missouri?
I followed Gene Bartow at Central Missouri, Clean Gene, and that year we won the conference championship. We won the first ever Christmas tournament, and from there I was attending a clinic that Coach Rupp was giving in St. Louis, sitting in the middle of the audience, and when he finished, he pointed to me and asked me to come up to his room. And 2 years before, he had offered me a recruiting job at Kentucky, and I turned it down. I said, if you ever need an on-the-floor assistant coach, I'll come. So that day he offered me a coaching position at Kentucky. And I moved after 1 year at Central Missouri to the university. And I was 7 years his assistant.
Yeah, you stayed there 7 years, Joe. What were some of your fondest memories of working for Coach Rupp as an assistant? Now you've transitioned from playing for him as a player, and now you're working in a totally different environment with him.
Well, I was still in awe of Coach Rupp when I took that job. But early in after getting there, we made several trips together. We went to Alaska and did clinics, and I found out there was another side to Coach Rupp. He was very enjoyable to be with, full of stories, good-natured. We even got a private plane and flew up to a lake to fish while we were in Alaska, and we just had a great time. We visited every night in the dorm, sat and talked for hours more about life and fun things than actually coaching. Mm-hmm. But I found out he was a man of great intellect, a leader, could have been a executive for Ford Motor Company or IBM or any other position. He could have been a leader wherever he decided to hang his hat.
Joe, who was Kaywood Leffler?
Kaywood was, of course, our famous announcer and did the play-by-play of Kentucky basketball for years. In the early networking of Kentucky basketball, they would have maybe 5 or 6 stations carrying the games with their own announcers. Well, finally, they consolidated all of the stations into one package. And first, I think Claude Sullivan was the central announcer, and he gave it up for health reasons, and Kaywood took over. And Kaywood just became Kentucky basketball. Joe, one of the most beloved associates of Kentucky basketball there's ever been.
Joe, I can remember driving up in the mountains of upstate New York late in the evening when I was recruiting, and I could always get the Kentucky
WHAS.
Yeah, I get the games on there with Kaywood and that. And somewhere in my storage now, I have an LP that he put out with over the history of Kentucky basketball in his broadcast and that. And I got it away in storage somewhere, but I don't know how I got it, but I can still remember late at night and to keep myself awake, I'd listen to those UK basketball games.
You know, when we'd go in to recruit, we could go to the kitchen of a recruit, get his little table radio and dial up WHAS and show the parents that they could listen. Before television,
yes.
They could listen to the games on radio in WHAS.